Welcome everyone to Catholic Owned Live. We are officially live everywhere. Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us for the Monday show of Catholic Owned Live. I am delighted that you're with me today, and feel free to drop in the chat where you're watching. I don't know if but we live stream on 5 or 6 platforms every single time that we're live. So I always like to hear where people are coming from and where they're watching and their favorite platforms and all of that. So definitely drop that in the chat if you are watching live. And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Beautiful Mother's Day this weekend. I can't believe it was already Mother's Day. This year just seems to be flying by. But I pray that you had a wonderful Mother's Day and just a wonderful celebration, whether you're a mother or you're married to a mother or you are a daughter or son. I hope that it was a wonderful celebration for you. So the Monday show, I love the Monday show. The Monday show is a little bit more of a sort of video essay, so to speak. We do a deep dive on some of the topics relevant to building the new Catholic economy. And so overall, Catholic Owned Live is really all about work, vocation, and what it really takes to build the new Catholic economy as Catholics in the world today. But Monday is all about ideas, exploration, and development in this sort of sector of the work that we're doing. And so today I've prepared for you a really great set of ideas, you could say, all about human dignity. The truth is that human dignity is at the heart of our work of building the new Catholic economy. And so I'm excited to share some I've got a handful of quotes for you from a few of our papal encyclicals, and we have just some ideas I want to kind of go through. So when we talk about human dignity, we're not talking necessarily about, we're talking about so much more than a directory, an app, a marketplace, and better networking opportunities. Catholic Owned really is about a different way of seeing economic life. Because the economy can feel absolutely massive, like an immovable, living thing that is impossible to change. It can feel like something we just live inside of and move inside of, and we're all just sort of trying our best. It can feel too complicated to influence and even too powerful to change. But the real takeaway is that the economy is made of human choices. It's a series of human choices made by all of us. Choices like what is getting built or funded, which businesses are visible, what value gets rewarded, who's seen and who gets ignored. It also is about what kind of work is being honored and the life that's possible when culture and when we put our money behind the values that shape the culture we're trying to create. So the point is that if the economy is shaped by human choices, then we as Catholics have a responsibility to bring our faith into those choices as much as we are able. That's the vision behind Catholic Owned. We're inviting Catholics to see their spending, work, business ownership, hiring decisions, referrals, partnerships, and purchasing habits as part of something bigger. Because every economy answers one question, and that is tied closely to one of the core questions of our faith, and that's, what is the human person worth? I think you can see today in our culture how the value of the human person is so diminished, and we deal with the fallout and the consequences of that every day. And Further, the world often answers that question not only, apart from the culture of death and the devaluation of human life. A lot of times the value of a human is answered in terms of usefulness, efficiency, output, convenience, or status and purchasing power. But the church gives us a completely different answer from that. The church says that each human has dignity because they're made in the image and likeness of God. The dignity is true and present whether that person is successful, regardless of their income level, their credentials, or how successful they are in their career or their business. It's true and equally valuable whether their business is profitable, whether they're impressive or influential, or they're just struggling to get by. That's why human dignity is foundational to building the new Catholic economy and why I want to talk to you about it today. What we are doing here is trying to help Catholics remember what economic life is actually for and why they should really care. Ultimately, the economy exists to support the basic unit of the society, which is the family. Each individual person and their family being able to survive, make a living, and also leave a legacy and to continue generationally the values and principles that we hold dear. All of that is only possible when we have resources, and those resources come from economic activity. And in the pursuit of those resources, we must remember that human beings are persons and made in the image and likeness of God. And so, no matter how successful or unsuccessful they are, that is at the core. And it is only upon that strong foundation of understanding human dignity and the value of a human being that we can build a successful economic foundation and future for our families, for our future generations, and beyond. So today I have a handful of quotes from 5 great Catholic popes on human dignity. And I want to share them with you as we reflect on how we can really build a truly Catholic economy. So the first one is from Pope Leo XIII in Rerum Novarum. And this is in number 40, paragraph 40 from Rerum Novarum. And this is the quote: "No man may with impunity outrage that human dignity which God himself treats with great reverence." This is kind of a banger to start out with because it just calls out so much of the impunity that, which is really just apathy, right? And lack of reverence. That no man may with impunity outrage that human dignity which God himself treats with great reverence. This is just a really great quote. God himself treats human dignity with great reverence. And so really what this quote from Rerum Novarum that Pope Leo XIII was trying to convey is that we too must treat human dignity with great reverence, just as God does. We cannot, just take that for granted and be irreverent with that important value of the human person. And how that kind of draws into the Catholic economy and our work at Catholic Owned, we can really ask ourselves, is the work that we're doing treating human dignity with reverence? Not only the work we're doing with our business, but our marketing practices, treating people in their human dignity with reverence. Our buying habits, revering the human dignity of the businesses and the owners that we're buying from. Our hiring decisions and the platforms we're using, revering human dignity. You see, the platforms that we use to buy and transact business are training us to a certain degree. They've trained us to view transactions in a particular way and to expect sales and fulfillment and the whole economic cycle to go a certain way. But the question here really is do platforms like, for example, Amazon, do they revere human dignity? Or are they actually skewing our expectations and our habits and our ways of thinking about doing business? Are they skewing them to an inhuman approach, to an inhuman expectation of efficiency, guarantees, speed, low price, and to this sort of inhuman expectation? When we start to look at it through the lens of human dignity, we can really see how even the platforms we use can or cannot be revering human dignity. And it goes beyond just the workers of that big platform, right? There's human dignity at every aspect and every level of an operation. I just touched on the as the purchaser, as the buyer, it lowers our dignity using those types of platforms. But of course, the business practices of Amazon and other large platforms go far beyond that, in that dehumanization and that lack of reverence for human dignity of the workers and beyond. Another aspect of this is in regards to the marketing. If you are a business owner, let us know in the comments. Drop your business name and website so we can support each other. But if you're a business owner, you're talking about purchasing, advertising, or marketing. Really, it can be so easy to get into the metrics of marketing and really forget about the dignity of the people behind the marketing. It's really easy to reduce our marketing down to numbers, right? Things like clicks and impressions. If we're working the business, it could just be about costs of hiring, the cost per lead, the subscribers or the conversion rates, or even just the lifetime value of a customer. And of course, those numbers all have their place. We need numbers. We need to know what's working and what's not. But the truth is that our Catholic vision, we have to go bigger than that. We have to look beyond the numbers and to see the people behind the numbers. Because behind every click is a person who has received our message and either taken action or not. Behind every business listing inside of Catholic Owned, we see a family, a founder, a vocation, and a lot of sacrifice that they've made to get to where they are today. Behind every purchase, we see a household trying to steward resources well. And usually, of course, it's the mother trying to steward resources well for her household. Now, the danger of the modern economy is it makes people easier to count than to see. I just love that line. It makes people easier to count than to see. And the new Catholic economy begins by seeing again. So such a beautiful reality check about how a Catholic economy is meant to work. To see the people behind the clicks, behind the business, behind the products. You can really honor their human dignity, revere their human dignity, and really make a difference in the way that you do everything that you do. So Catholic Owned exists because visibility is not a small thing, but it's also not everything. So when Catholics can support and find one another in a trusted community, we can begin to support one another economically. We can begin to look at the human dignity and honor the human dignity of one another by buying from each other, by referring friends to one another, and moving even into growing the business and hiring and referring for that. So the next quote I want to move on is a quote from Pacem in Terris from Pope John the 23rd. And this one is a little bit more simple, but also impactful. He wrote, "But since all men are equal in natural dignity, no man has the capacity to force internal compliance on another." So this is really important for us at Catholic Owned, because it would be really easy for us to um, attempt to force internal compliance on one another through particular marketing tactics. For example, it would be really easy for Catholic Owned to, focus our marketing messaging on things like guilt and shame, because the truth is that our purchasing decisions do have impact. We are supporting things that are directly contrary to our Catholic faith every single day. Myself, first on the list. And so if Catholic Owned wanted, if that's what we wanted to do, that would be the easy way out for our marketing. To just sit here and tell you all the evil things that every dollar that you spend is supporting companies, for example, who pay for their employees to travel for abortions, who are giving to Planned Parenthood, who are paying for all of the evil things that our culture is promulgating right now. Anyways, that would be a really easy way for us to market Catholic Owned. But we don't do that, and that's on purpose, because shaming people, I don't feel like that respects their human dignity. Attempting to force internal compliance because we're telling you all the terrible things that your money is going to support I don't see that as actually helping you. Would that get an emotional response out of you? It probably would, and rightfully so. We're outraged when we realize the injustice and the grave injustice that's out there. And to know that we're supporting it feels terrible. So if Catholic Owned wanted to use that type of messaging, would it work? It would probably work. It would probably get a lot of clicks. It would probably evoke strong emotional reactions. The comment sections would be, very combative amongst opposing sides of the argument. And by the social media metrics, that would all be great. But the thing is that we don't believe in shame and guilt as a motivator of action. And so we steer clear of that. We also don't believe that strong emotional reactions will lead to significant behavior change. We don't see that guilt and that shame as a true tool of conviction and enough sort of motivation to change behavior in the long term. And so that's kind of why I wanted to include this quote from Pope John the 23rd. "Since all men are equal in natural dignity, no one has the capacity to force internal compliance on another." And so I think this is true for the marketing of all businesses, the way that we operate and transact together. There's obviously implications for that throughout, but I wanted to highlight Catholic Owned as an example, that every person in a transaction has dignity, and we choose to not market in a way that almost forces compliance because of shame and guilt. So that's a really important one. The third quote I want to bring to your attention today is from Pope John Paul II, and he wrote this in Evangelium Vitae, paragraph 2. "The gospel of God's love for man, the gospel of the dignity of the person, and the gospel of life are a single and indivisible gospel." This quote is so important because it reminds us that human dignity is truly whole. It's not divided into neat little categories or relegated to the separation of church and state. We cannot care about the dignity of the person in the womb and ignore the dignity of the worker, of the business owner, of the customer service representative on the other end of an email chain. we really need to remember that the gospel of life touches all aspects of life. And that's true whether someone is a struggling entrepreneur or a thriving entrepreneur, whether they are living in a small family or a large family, whether they are poor or whether they are very wealthy. We cannot care about family life while ignoring the economic pressures that are honestly crushing a lot of families, and even more so the families who are open to life. Because money is never only about money. The truth is that economic influence comes from economic resources, and we really have to accept that reality. Um, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we really work so hard. We want Catholic families and Catholic professionals and Catholic people of influence to hold on to their resources and to deploy them for the culture of life, for others to be able to spread the gospel, which includes the gospel of life, which includes honoring the dignity of every human person, whether they are a Catholic mother at home with a family, a single Catholic woman working a corporate job, a husband providing for a family, or a priest just working a job to pay his student loan so he can go on and become a priest, and anything in between. Um, Honoring the dignity of that person where they are really matters in this greater economic picture. The fourth quote I want to bring to your attention, uh, it ties in closely to what I just said, but it's from Laborum Exercens, and this is Pope John Paul II again, and Saint Pope John Paul II, of course. This is Laborum Exercens, paragraph 6. The basis for determining the value of human work is not primarily the kind of work being done, but the fact that the one who is doing it is a person. Hmm. This one is worth sitting with just a minute. I'll read it again. The basis of determining the value of human work is not primarily the kind of work that's being done, but the fact that the one who is doing it is a person. This quote is absolutely central to our work and our mission of building the new Catholic economy. This is profoundly different from how the world often ranks work and the value being created. And that's because Catholic teaching begins with a person. There is dignity in the work of every human being, whether they're the CEO or the custodian, the babysitter or the software developer, the farmer or the mother in the home. And as is so familiar, the founder trying to make payroll and the worker who's showing up faithfully every day. The person is the most important input unit of work. And I believe as Catholic business owners, we have a particularly important and unique role in honoring that in the way that we live and the way that we run our companies. It can be obviously paying people a fair wage is a really important part of this. But there's also, understanding so much more about each of your workers' lives beyond what inputs they can produce and how much they get paid in return. Um, Honoring the value of our employees includes things like knowing about their family, knowing, maybe investing a little bit. Beautiful example, we have a member of Catholic owned. Her name is Laura Rowland. Laura Rowland Coaching is absolutely amazing. She uses the M code to help individuals and teams learn and understand and leverage their natural motivation styles and how to work together as a team. Investing in Laura's services is a great way to show our team members that I care about more than the inputs that you put in. And I really care about creating a work environment for you where you're going to thrive and where you're going to do particularly well. Another example of that, Christina Schmidt is another wonderful member of Catholic Owned. She uses the 6 types of working genius. So this is another tool and another service provider you can invest in to help your team be able to work together in the best possible way, in a way that honors them and their gifts, um, minimizes their zone of frustration, minimizes them doing the work that is just draining to them, and reassigning that work to somebody who thrives doing that work. These are just little things that you can do as a business owner to really show your team, hey, I really care, and I view you as a whole person, and you're so much more to me than the inputs that you contribute to the team. Um, Other beautiful ways we can really honor the people on our team is, you know, simple things like write down their birthday and maybe you order in a cake or something like that. Send a small care package if you're a virtual team. You know, honor the sacrifices that they make to do the work that you require of them, um, and help them to understand how the work that they're doing with you fits into their bigger picture, and encourage them to go after that bigger picture, even if it means you might lose them someday because they're going to go do something bigger and better. These are just a few ways that we can really honor um, our employees. This is obviously a just very specific set of examples for Catholic business owners, ways that we can say your labor matters to our employees, your vocation matters, your excellence and your family matter, and you have a place in the new Catholic economy, and it's here with us right now, and we want to support you to get to your next thing that you're doing. Um, and that might be 20 years with us, it might be 20 months, but we care about you as a person. That's a deeply Catholic thing that we as Catholic business owners can do, um, just for our employees. And of course, there's so many more examples in the broader Catholic economy that we could bring up. But I know I want to just move through my 5 quotes today, and we can always revisit another day. Okay, my last quote for today, as I wrap up the Monday show, is from Pope Benedict in Caritas in Veritate. It says paragraph 29, and it really brings this vision together. God is the guarantor of man's true development, inasmuch as, having created him in his image, he also establishes the transcendent dignity of men and women. So it is truly that because we are created in the image of God, our dignity is transcendent. It is guaranteed by God. There is no way that we can diminish that, or make it less, have less dignity. The only thing we as humans can do is um, be irreverent to the fact of human dignity, which is obviously an outrage and a disgrace to do that. Um, a society that is constantly irreverent towards the dignity of the human person is absolutely um, is yeah, it's an outrage. It's an outrage to God, and is not serving the human person at all. So of course we want to focus on true development, on the human dignity, the dignity of the human person, as we are progressing, as we are growing. So whether we are a business owner, whether we are a consumer, whether we are a worker, we really want to be focusing on the growth and development of each of us and of our families and of our friends and of our employees and our colleagues through the lens of um, really a truly Catholic lens, which is, did this thing that I did, that is this program helping the human person flourish? Is this initiative helping my human people flourish? Um, did it serve their families? Did it honor their work? Did it bring about did it inspire faith or hope? Did this bring economic life into a greater alignment with their own dignity? These are the questions that each of us can ask ourselves. But ultimately, it's why Catholic Owned, the mission is so big, and why we can't just be a Catholic version of something else. We are building from truly Catholic principles. So we begin with the end in mind. We begin with the truth. And so where we begin is different from other platforms and other communities, and where it ends is obviously heaven. So these Catholic principles really are the foundation of Catholic Owned, and so much of our work involves ourselves revering the human dignity of others, but it's also about inspiring you and people like you to view and revere the human dignity of fellow Catholics who are involved with our platform and beyond. Building the new Catholic economy is absolutely based, and the foundation of that is recognizing the human dignity of one another. It's, as I kind of recap these 5 encyclicals, I'm just so inspired to continue the work that we're doing. Pope Leo the 13th reminded us that God treats human dignity with great reverence, and that's so important that we do the same. Pope John the 23rd reminds us that all people are equal in natural dignity, whether you're the buyer or the seller, the employee, or the spouse at home. St. Pope John Paul II reminds us that the gospel of life and the dignity of the human person are inseparable, and that work has dignity because the worker is a person. And in closing, Pope Benedict reminded us that true human development depends on God, and God establishes the transcendent dignity of men and women. This is the foundation of our work at Catholic Owned. This is the foundation of building the new Catholic economy. Human dignity is the reason that we build, and why we care about where our money goes, and why we care about Catholic-owned businesses being visible and easy to find so you can shop with them for your everyday needs. This is the reason Catholic Owned exists, because we want the economy to be something more than transactions. We believe that Catholics can be more intentional, and that trust can be rebuilt amongst the Catholic community. Catholic-owned businesses can be excellent, and they can compete and succeed and exceed the performance of secular alternatives. Because for a Catholic-owned business, work is a vocation. Service is the way they run their business, and the marketplace is truly a mission field. The truth is that Catholic Owned is so beautifully aligned with all of our Catholic teaching, and I was feeling particularly inspired by human dignity for today's show. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Catholic Owned Live, where we talk honestly about faith, vocation, work, and what it really takes to build the new Catholic economy. Today we get to talk all about human dignity, and I hope this was a great show for you. I know this was a lot of fun to put together, so I hope it's a blessing for you. And let me know in the comments which quote stood out to you the most, which one spoke to you directly, and what are your thoughts on human dignity as part of the Catholic economy? Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Brooke Joyner, and I'm your host here on Catholic Owned Live. Catholic Owned Live is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Central Time. And I hope you will join me again this coming Wednesday at noon Central for Catholic Owned Live. Until then, God bless you, and I'll see you soon.